Share page is our main product surface, and we are a little bit more over 15 million gems now in.
We were always kind of afraid a little bit to touch it. We knew we needed to revamp it. There's a bunch of stuff that I was just able to do by prompting a model. I mocked it up in Figma. I took the frame and I basically said, Mr. Claude, go make it real.
Using Claude Code and Codex really allowed us to move fast.
It's so easy for me to change stuff as a designer in the product now, in the code, that sometimes I'm like, why would I even fiddle with this in Figma? I'm just going to create a PR for this.
Welcome to the Jam Podcast, where we talk about how we've built Jam with the people who are doing the work. Today, joined by Martin and Petar, who led a lot of really exciting changes to maybe the most important surface area of Jam, the way you actually share Jam. We're going to dig into why we've changed some things and a lot of the interesting work that went into it. Maybe to start, Martin, with you, I would love to hear a bit about the share page and why we thought this was the right time to start making some changes to how it's built and how it works.
The share page is the page that you see when you actually open up a Jam and you can watch the video or the screenshot. And it's our most frequented surface area in the product. And this is where people actually land. So the engineers or the receiving end actually ends up watching the Jam or debugging the Jam. We were always kind of afraid a little bit to touch it. And we knew we needed to revamp it. It wasn't very good. And over time, we've added more and more features. And then things tend to explode. You need to basically press the reset button. And so that's what we did. We took a step back and we essentially introduced a new layout. You can now hide DevTools. We have refreshed comments. You can tag teammates. We made the MCP more prominent. A bunch of big and little improvements and just quality of life updates for users and customers.
What you can see right now is very old share page. Basically, we maybe built 4 or 5 years ago. So we kicked it off first with video player. Then we started building comments from ground up. Before we had this very basic commenting experience where you can create a bulleted list. You were not able to tag teammates. You were not able to use emojis. It works, but it doesn't have all these table stakes that you expect nowadays. Then, once we finished, top right corner, Martin took it over and said, hey, let's now redesign everything, create a brand new experience.
We want big box, big ideas, small box, small ideas. We want things to be a little bit bigger that people should gravitate towards and actually use.
I would say we kept this main gem identity, but as Martin said, we needed more space for commenting experience. We moved the box from top right to the bottom left, more space for everybody. We really wanted comment experience to feel fast, even on slow connections. I think good analogy would be if you ever used iMessage or WhatsApp, whenever you hit that send button, it goes immediately. But then, if error happens on the server side, you will see a small exclamation mark with the error. Comments are built on the same principle. It's a very known pattern called optimistic updates, and it gives user this perception of things working immediately. Also, deleting comments is done on the same principle, but we spiced it up with a little bit of animation. If you delete one, it will fade away slowly. We really wanted to go into the details. Let's say you're in the middle of editing, but you changed your mind. You can select all. If you press save, this goes away.
We assume that the user's intent is actually to delete the comment. And so that's what we do. And we don't show any additional, dialogue modal or get annoying. There's just some small stuff that we've thought about as you're typing out that you just stay in flow.
We've kind of given more space to comments, but I think it also opens up a lot of room to share jams differently. One is where I'm digging into a customer issue and these dev tools are incredibly valuable and need to be there. Other times I'm just sharing something I want to show the visible content with my voiceover. And that experience and what information I need to share, totally different. Can you guys take me through a bit of how we abstract information away, maybe for different use cases and what this looks like?
There's 2 versions of this. One is how do we give people even more space to collaborate, which is just hiding the dev tools, right? We really need to think about the layout. And now you can see you're sort of in collaboration mode. And let's say you're an engineer and you actually want to see the dev tools, you can pop those out.
If you're doing bug reporting, developer need all the context. we'll just go to the left, copy. If you need conversation to stay front and center, you will use content-only mode.
Turning pages, maybe Martin would love to talk about kind of the shift of where you do work and how that may have changed how the share page came to be.
I did the old way of just mocking something up in Figma really quickly and using that as sort of a tool for thought. What content needs to sit together where? You can kind of see like this is already sort of the final shape that we took. But then, before actually thinking this through in Figma and trying to go through all these like edge cases of like hiding them, showing them, how does it animate in? Can I drag this thing over? How does it work? I actually stopped here and I actually just started prototyping with Claude. There's a bunch of stuff that I was just able to do by prompting a model and just mocking this up with Claude Code and basically saying like, I mocked it up in Figma. I took the frame and I basically said, Mr. Claude, like go make it real. And we have a prototyping repo, obviously, on GitHub, and that's where we put all our prototypes as a design team. And then we were able to prototype like some really cool stuff. And this is something you cannot do in Figma. You can only do it using like Chrome APIs and like actually like prototyping in code, is being able to sort of go like, what if I just want to undock the DevTools to the right? Did you guys see that? These are like the kind of things that you can't really do in Figma. Another thing was I created this little thing called JamLab. And so the share page has many, many different states. And like, depending on what you're looking at and where the jam originates from, the data actually changes.
This is a silly question, Martin. Would JamLabs just been like 50 different permutations in a Figma file before?
I'm pretty sure you could get far with Figma Make at this point as well. Keep in mind, like Claude Design and all this stuff wasn't available, and Figma Make wasn't that good when we initially did this stuff. But yeah, I think like the design process is changing where like the classic sort of like mocking up of different states is going away, and Figma is becoming more like a workbench to like ideate and like for myself, scaffolding. It's still faster. I love the infinite canvas. It's still very good for collaborating. But then if you have to do something that's a little bit more complicated, it's just easier to just jump into code once you know what you want. I think exploring in code is still super difficult. I would always recommend going with infinite canvas and collaborating, I guess, as well. But if you kind of know what you want and you just want to fiddle around with like, the smaller stuff and sweat the details, I either do it directly in the product now, right, with Codex or Claude, or we just have a prototyping repo where we can just do this. So yeah, like we would have to normally mock up a million versions of this in Figma. And as we got it production ready, we did jump back into Figma to polish some of the states, right? Like Petar did not work from this prototype. Like the prototype is just a throwaway. It's just kind of like, here's my idea, here's what I'm thinking. Like, what is a design? It's just like kind of a visual spec. What could this be? And like, how does it work? Like that is generally like the design process. Now you can put like a bunch of frameworks on top of it, but like generally it's that question. Like in-code prototyping is just like a faster way also for myself to validate if an idea is actually worth pursuing, because it's so easy for me to change stuff as a designer in the product now, like in the code, that sometimes I'm like, why would I even fiddle with this in Figma? Like I'm just going to create a PR for this. So that was the process, like early thinking Figma, FigJam with the team. And then it's like, okay, like I think I have a hunch, go into code, prototype it, present back to the team. And then it's like, have the team play around with it, get some feedback. Okay, this seems like a cool direction or a viable direction. And then like actually, do your deeper thinking and all the stuff that you would do in Figma to sort of get the idea ready enough for someone to start coding. And then design doesn't stop, right? Like you just kind of continuously test it.
Some of the technical challenges that behind what Martin was just showing are immense. So maybe let's shift to that side of things and how we built this new share page with like technical challenges in mind.
As you said before, share page is our main product surface, and we are a little bit more over 15 million gems now in. Chrome extension is quite specific. We do once release per week, but also at the same time, we have iOS app. Those are two clients that are talking to backend. How do we make sure that both new version of extension that is using TipTap editor and old version of extension that is using Draft.js are keeping up and running without issues. On this specific task, I paired up with Tomasz, our engineering lead. So we came up with a solution where there is a small translation layer built on a backend, where each of these clients can request certain format. For example, your extension version that is still using old text editor, you are sending data as Draft.js, but then your request is intercepted. And then before writing to database, we say, hey, from now on, you will be speaking prose mirror or the format that is used by TipTap. We have to build this bulletproof mechanism because if you open a gem from 2 years ago or from 5 years ago, all comments need to be shown. Everything has to work.
How do we make sure that this product works seamlessly no matter where you are, whether it's a different version of a browser or different phone?
The big part of this was covering everything with tests. Of course, this was sped up by Claude Code and Codex.
There's a ton of sort of dependencies that we don't want to put that burden on users. We need to take up that technical challenge, and so we did, right? So we keep both of those systems running. Depending on what client and what version you're on, you're able to fetch the version that is compatible with your device or whatever the user is running right now.
Petar, can we spend a few minutes just going through some of the finer details that you've put into the product here?
Yeah, sure. We really wanted this icon to animate when DevTools are hidden. So if you click, you will see it says show DevTools. If you click again, we'll say hide DevTools. Now, my favorite, if you go to resizer, it animates from the cursor point. But then if you click, it has this tactile feeling that you're actually holding something. If you leave it again, it expands. This could be also my favorite or maybe my second favorite. We spiced these buttons with a little bit of animation, so it's very clear what's going to be shared. With DevTools, you have this staggered animation of items in a sidebar. And if you want to share content only, you will see they slowly animate from top to bottom. Once you click it, you have immediate feedback. Hey, this is copied to clipboard. You don't need to think about it again. Also, another one, if you double click on the resizer, it will split to 50-50 layout. I love this. It works with my OCD, perfectly centered. Also, maybe one notable thing, if you write a comment, this looks great. A list will auto scroll to bottom, but let's say you play the video, you are around 14 seconds, you want to say something. Hey, this looks broken. Now, the list won't scroll to comment because you are probably in the middle of watching walkthrough and you want to continue from there. But as a visual confirmation, you will see this Twitter-inspired bubble that will pop up from the bottom. If you want to go see it, you can click here and then you are forward to the bottom of the screen again. This one was very fun. It's been a couple of iterations. We were thinking about adding theater mode, then removing it. We might implement it in the future, but a solution that we came with is if you resize close to the edges, video will fill up available space, but also border radius will change. So then if you move all the way to the left, content has min width, so video and comments don't get squished, but you still have a space to expand your DevTools. Then if you slowly go back, at some point, you will see how video is being detached from the edges and then it goes back to its original state.
That's really nice. I gotta say, my favorite is how you're sharing content only versus DevTools mode. The first time I clicked that, I had a pause moment of oh, that was really satisfying. The attention to craft on some of these smaller details as you're using it, especially if you're someone who uses Gem every single day, many times a day, the details really add up. I do appreciate you both walking me through it. I think our users are going to love the new share experience and can't wait to hear feedback.
Cool.
Great.
See you guys.